think that's a good temperature. I filmed 6 minutes of this video already, then realized there's no audio. Nope, didn't have my mic turned on. Great start. I switched microphones. The new one I have, you actually have to turn on. My old mic, you would take it out of its charging case and just boom, it was on. I switched to this one because, well, the audio quality is better, and the, I don't know what you call it, the receiver. Yeah, the receiver locks in better to the camera, so it doesn't move around. So I know you don't care. I just don't have to worry about the audio as much because sometimes the receiver would come apart, fall off the camera on the other one, whereas this one doesn't do that. Hey, what's up, garden friends? Jeff here. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm great. Yeah, just watering plants and trying to get my life together. Garden tour time, end of the month. It is kind of a nice day outside. Oh, I'm in shock right now just because it's been unseasonably warm, but it's also been unseasonably cold. We're doing this all the time, not a lot of this. There are pros and cons to that. I've avoided looking at the garden the last few days, so hopefully some things will be a surprise to me. There's probably not a lot going on out there. I just don't have a ton that I do during March other than clean. And even that, I didn't get as much of that done this year. So yeah, I don't know, we'll go outside, we'll have a look at what's going on with the plants. There's some new things that maybe you haven't seen. And then we'll head out to the grow space, the garage, and check out the tropicals and the house plants and, you know, just all that fun stuff. Everything in the windows looking good. This orchid right here, it's an equestrious type. Been in bloom for months. Or, I mean, it has equestrious and it's not equestrious type. Doing great. I would say the thing that stands out the most in this window so far has been the pinguiculas. These guys are awesome. They are awesome, awesome plants. The butterworts. This one right here is Moransis. There you go. There's the name. Sideways. These guys just bloom and bloom and bloom as long as they get the sun, right? So at one point I'd taken this one, I set it down here just for a few days and it stopped blooming. Put it back up there a week later, boom, shot out a flower. They're very well fed. Lots of critters get inside of them. If you didn't know, pinguiculas are carnivorous. So they're sticky. You see fungus gnats on there and whatever that little white thing is. I'm not used to seeing the pests from that range. I don't know what that was. Not sure. I see fungus gnats and then some type of white fly or aphid larvae. Really simple plants, and they're fascinating too. These guys, they like the moisture. Must keep them moist. You can grow them on a piece of stone, even as long as that stone's inside of a bowl of water. And certain times of year, typically winter, they'll dry out and become more of a succulent. Just fun and very easy plants. Very, very effective at getting the critters. I'm weighing in. Can you see the critters? Lots of critters stuck to this one. Didn't want to focus. I'm so sorry. There you go. You got to see it. You get it. Fun plants. Yeah, the Sansevieria's been good. I have had to come in with a wet cloth and dust it several times. I'll probably need to just take it outside here in a few weeks. I know some of the tropicals moved out already, unseasonably early, but it was good to just make some space. It's the weekend. Have people over and doing the whole thing with the sodas and the drinks, and you know how it goes. Pumpkin, you gonna say hi to everybody, Pumpkin? No? You want to say hello? Okay, that's fine. You don't have to. Turbo's ready. He's been waiting. Such a good patient boy. Let's go outside. See what's going on in the garden. Oh, I should have put on pants. It's okay. The sun's going to feel nice. What's going on here? Somebody's sitting up here eating an acorn? Cool. You know it's chilly when even Turbo's like, can I just lay on the couch? I don't think I want to go out there. Got a pool over there that you'd just love to be in, but instead you're going, no, I don't think so. It's too cold. So, what is it? Last week, it was in the 70s and 80s, unusually warm, and then dropped down to 15 degrees. Then got nice, got really hot, broke a well over 100-year record. It was in the 90s 2 days ago, and then the last night it dropped down to 33, I think. Spring, fun, you know, just is what it is. I'm enjoying all the warmth, though. Typically, I like a nice, cool, gentle spring, but I'm thinking that all these warm days we've had should have some things waking up early. I think I already talked about that, maybe. I don't know, because I had to cut everything I did for a 6-minute intro before, so here we are. I don't know if I said all this. Plants are looking good. Look, spring blooms popping open just in time. Got this double weeping cherry over here. Just started popping open. Royal Raindrops crabapple. Looking good, just started to bloom. And then the, what is this, sugar Tina, I think? Maybe? I don't see any buds on it. it might skip flowering. You know, keeping these things in pots was an experiment. I wasn't sure how it would go. It's nice to sit out here and get to experience the flowers on the trees, because this is something that I'd started planning out last year. Really, it was probably spring of last year. I was thinking about, oh, it would be so nice if I just had some plants out here, because typically there aren't plants out here until it's pretty warm out. May, something like that. I have the big plants that go away to a greenhouse, and then all the plants that are in the garage, I don't really bring a lot of those out until May, although I think, you know, I don't know, this year I brought a lot out in March, which is unusual, but I just said, screw it, it's warm, just take them out. Could always put them back in, was my thinking. Typically, though, there's just nothing out here, right? And it's lame. People like to hang out here. It's cozy, got the fire pit, and just a nice place to sit. So when the trees started going on clearance last fall, I started buying them. I got the double weeping cherry, the crab apples, just so there'd be some nice spring color. And even though they're not evergreen, it's still nice just having the sticks out here. They're just sticks, but it's just nice. The deciduous nature of them does not bother me at all during the wintertime. I even kind of like it, actually, especially on the Royal Raindrops crabapple. The wood on it is a nice warm tone. Well, deep, rich tone, actually. It's more of a like a burgundy color, and that nice red foliage that it has. Just excellent. When this one's done blooming, which won't be long from now, I'll go ahead and give this a really big prune, because I want this tree flush, right? I want as many branches on this tree as possible. This is containerized, so I have to treat it a little bit different than I would as if it were in the ground. Or if this were in the ground, I would plant it and just, you know, take very good care of it, as one should. But in a pot, have to be more mindful about pruning. Every few years, it's got to come out of the pot. It's going to have its roots pruned and everything. Basically, just trying to keep it about this height. It can go a little bit bigger than this, but this is about where I want it. So I'm going to have to give it probably a heading prune, really, and a thinning prune, so we can get it to flush out. So lots of branches, more flowers. It's been an overall healthier looking tree. There's the flowers, though. A little bit of damage to them from the wind and the cold. We had some pretty intense storms here recently, but not too bad. I even really like the way these buds look before they open up. Aren't they pretty? Let's come up here. Let's stand on this cushion. Let's look for buds. Just seeing leaves. Yeah, just seeing leaves. Doesn't mean it's not going to flower, though. The crab apples will push out a little bit of foliage before they push out their buds, so it could still happen. Got some spring things going on over here with the pansies and the carnations, planters, and, you know, there's lots of spring colors. Wanted lots of color out here this spring. Wanted easy color, too, right? So I was like, let's just do pansies. Partially because I was hoping on an amazing sale, and some dianthus. You know, some stock and other things would be nice to incorporate into the containers, but I don't want to hold on to the budget for summer this year, right? Behind some trailers, they can go up here into this hanging basket with these pansies, some vinca, probably some alyssum. Want some lobulae around, it's just necessary. Gotta have the lobulae around to get good fragrance. And it's bothering me. I just want something stringy to hang over the edge of that container. And there are options, just not a lot, actually. Really, there aren't that many options. The nurseries don't tend to have much in the way of trailers this time of year, so maybe that'll never happen. I don't know. But, you know, here's the seating area. Things have come along. Things have been planted. Starting to see some signs of buds swelling up on the dogwoods that are in here. Those containers, they're all cleaned up, meaning the crab apples. Got those cleaned out, I think, in this week's vlog that comes out after this, or last week. I don't know. Cleaned them up. The perennials that are in them are starting to pop back to life. The hostas are coming up. This guy's new. This guy's new. Isn't it pretty? That's a beautiful plant. Got down to 33 last night. I did not move the foxtail palms in. I figured, you know what, they're good. It was brief. You know, I looked at the forecast. It's only going to be cold for a few hours. I figured, yeah. They'll be okay. Just stick it out. Just get over it, right? Had a sneeze cough happen in the middle of that sentence. And the foxtail's going to take a little bit more cold. It just needs to be very brief, and it wasn't all that cold anyways. Over here, I can see the crinum lilies are starting to do their thing. They're waking up, which is nice. Maybe a few weeks early on those. I even see there's some bananas coming up back over here. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. Right, let me find my finger. There it is, right there. I don't have bananas planted there. I had bananas planted here. But they did what Baju bananas do, and they have crawled their way over there. This is why over the last few years I've been starting to not protect the banana clump over here, because I'm like, you know, you can die off, and I'd like to replace it with something that's not quite as cold hardy, but will stay put and has a tighter clump, like a Unionensis or a Bulbosiana. I'm ready to do some pruning over here on the sable minors, but look at how great these have done. There's some winter damage, but it's not a ton. really, it's just a couple fronds on each one. And the size on these, they're doing great. They're going to be harder to protect next year. This year and, well, the years prior when we had bad weather, I just dump a trash can on top of them. I think they're too big for that now. Well, this one have like a greenhouse thing that pops up and goes over it. And they only needed, what? About a week and a half, 2 weeks of protection this winter. It was a very, very, very mild winter. Mild with the exception of that 10 or so days where it was like -6 outside. Yeah, here are the plants that I moved in. Wasn't a lot, just the petunias. They're not gonna like that cold. The spindles, which really, honestly, probably would have been fine. And the coconut, it was smart to bring the coconut in. Fountain in there's making noise. I'm gonna put the hose in there, get that filled up, and then we can go in there and look at the rest of the plants, walk around and talk for a bit. It takes a long time to fill that fountain up. You can see a lot of the plants that I have out here are plants that I already know can handle the cold. Got the Pindo and the Washingtonia. The foxtail, that one's kind of a meh, you know, but they can take it. Just not a lot. Windmills, looking good. This washi's been out for a few weeks, also looking good. I'm not seeing much activity from any of the roses. I have roses potted up in these little like crevices in here. They would pop up, but nothing. Oh, there's a little bit of something going on. They'll be up and doing their thing pretty soon. Heptacodium, Temple of Bloom, flushing out, looking great. I'm scanning, looking for signs of life from the gingers. It would be very odd for the gingers to be coming up this early, but never know, it could happen. The Heptacodium, great plant. I would suggest you try it. I about this every single spring and late fall because they flush out really early, and I like that. You can see the rest of the trees, they're just sticks. Nothing going on in the Heptacodium. It looks nice. I can go through and prune out last year's panicles. I could do that. This isn't going to get too much bigger, at least it shouldn't. They're only supposed to go like 10 to 15 foot. This is probably maybe around 12, somewhere in there. Just a matter of keeping it shaped right. I still have lights on it, I know, but they still turn them on sometimes. They're just white lights. It's nice having some lights out at nighttime when you're entertaining. I'll probably take them off, but I do like having them on. We will see. Yeah, the sable miners, we already talked about them. There's some needle palms back here that there's not much to talk about with those. Something that I find very fascinating. We already know what's going on here. Look at that. Cannas are coming up. I have never in my life had cannas coming up in March. At least I don't think I have. I might just be full of it. Maybe it happens every year. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I just said, this has never happened. Like, actually, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Typically, the cannas don't start moving around here, where I live, until like, late April. That's usually kind of early. The ground has to get warm, but that's a very warm spot. So, no surprise there. Cannas are coming up. I mean, you have multiple days in the 70s and 80s and even 90s. The ground is getting nice and warm over here. It's why I'm surprised. Not surprised, it makes sense. Even the sable miners, the scrub palms here, they're pushing new growth because it's so unusually warm. They don't usually push new growth until May, July, June, you know, those months when it's nice and warm. There's some cannas coming up in here. Don't know why. Didn't plant cannas here. I do remember there was a big green canna here last year, and I don't know where it came from, why it was there, but whatever the reason is, it's still here. It's coming back. The magnolia looks like crap, I know. That got cut in half this year by wind, not by me. Had some really, really bad storms in November that just took the top of that thing right off. And I figured, okay, well, we'll see what happens. Let it get through winter. Maybe it'll bush out and be an even nicer looking plant. I say this every year. If it doesn't do much, then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. I've been saying that for so long. So long. Plant's been on the ground for several years. It should be looking better than that by now, but we just keep having these bad winters where it's like a couple of weeks that are really bad. Even if it's a mild winter like this winter, it's just a couple weeks go through that are really, really, really cold, below zero, and then it just dies back. That's a little gem magnolia. Rose starting to bud out. The screenplay holly, not looking too hot. Right, that bamboo, that looks terrible. Screenplay holly, not looking too good either. But, you know, those are zone 7 plants. I am zone 7, but not really. It's a lie. I'm going to keep saying 6 peaks. We keep dropping below zero. We'll see what happens. Well, I know the bamboo. That's the Phylloxactis nigra, black bamboo. It'll flush out new growth within, I don't know, probably a month or so. It's going to put up all kinds of new canes, and I go through and cut the old ones out. We do that every single year with this one. Have for the last forever. I've been growing these since I was like 12 or 13. That's how they've always done around here. Screenplay's new. Haven't tried that here, and can't say I would recommend it. This whole area is pretty sheltered and warm, but you see, it's still, you know, still struggled. Actually, it looked wonderful up until that really cold spell. Firelight hydrangea. I see some green. It's gonna be hard for you to see, but there's some green in there. It's so funny. It's going this way now, and all winter long it was going this way. This plant just flips and flops all over the place. And there's a lot of sun right here. Clearly not enough, because you want straight up growth on these. I don't know, I'm gonna give it a couple more years and see what it does. It's still a fun looking plant. Got the bamboo palms pulled out of the greenhouse. They can take a good amount of cold. So I went ahead and I brought them out. Pretty much everything I brought out early were plants that had some pest issues, and it's just better to just get them outside into the sun. Even if that scorches the foliage, I don't care, because that foliage had spider mites on it. Whatever. You prune that off, clean them up. I've been spraying them with the super soap, insecticidal soap, that is. And it's working. Not seeing any issues on them anymore, but then, you know, there's just transitional scarring, right? Things tend to bleach out. This is about as shady as it's going to get. My trees don't have leaves on them yet. That's another reason I don't typically move plants out this early, because, well, there's shade for them. Even if they're plants that can take the sun, they still need shade when you bring them back out. Chlorified them, looks fine. They can take a surprising amount of cold. I've had these come back for me in the ground, as long as, you know, they're mulched up or near a wall. In fact, this is actually the area where they usually will come back for me if I have them planted over here. This is back in the day, and the spot used to get more sun before the mimosa tree got big. Well, back in the day, I had planters just over here, and I would always put spider plants in and let them trail down, and then these would hit the gravel in the soil, and winter would happen, they'd die, but they always came back when they were near this wall, and it got a lot of sun. Could have been from seed, I don't know. Regardless, it was nice having them return. Their offspring returned Fatsia. Looking good. I'm not worried about that one. The Fatsias, the windmill palms, I think those are like the two main ones where I'm like, they can be out now. I'm not concerned about those as far as temperatures are concerned moving forward. They're good well into the teens. Sometimes Fatsias can be a little bit unpredictable with the cold. As long as it's not sopping wet and cold, it should be fine. Oh, pardon the pool. The filter's not on yet, if you can't tell. Haven't got the plumbing up and running. Just took the cover off. I don't like having the cover on. It's nice to just be able to look at the water. I have a little fountain in there, a pump. Keep things circulating. And the storm blew a rug in there the other day, and I said, okay, that can stay there. Life is like, hey, here's some lemons. I said, cool, thanks. I'll take them. I didn't pull it out because I keep finding toads in the pool, and they're not that good at getting out of the water. I'm like, well, hey, that'll work, because I saw a toad on it, and since it was over there by the steps, it was able to hop out up onto the steps and get out of there. So I said, okay, you know what, the rug can stay for now. The water level's not up quite where it needs to be yet. I'm just going to slowly adding water to it before getting the filtration turned on. I believe next week. I think that this should be all up and looking sparkly within a week or two. But until then, I'm really careful with the animal. I'm always careful with the animals. Once the water level's up a little bit higher, I have this ramp thing that goes in. It's like a couple bean bags and a floaty thing. I don't know how to describe it, but a little critter catcher ramp thing. Seems to work. I don't know. When I use it, I don't find dead animals in the pool. Oh, that's weird. Huh. So that pump that's in there, that's making that the little bubbly action right there, I initially had that set on top of this flower pot. They're just turned upside down to lift up higher, so it had a really big, nice geyser going. And then Turbo ran and he pulled the cord and the pump fell down. That's fine. It's still a nice, peaceful water sound. And that pot, for the last 4 days, has stayed right where it was. And all of a sudden, when I'm sitting here, it's going to get up and start moving. How much time did I spend talking on that? I just saw a pot move. Wow. Hope you enjoyed your little trip on Jeff's ADD train, where we get distracted by bright, shiny objects that move around in our periphery. I moved some of the begonias out. So these are what might be a perennial type begonia. I don't know. I didn't get these until late last year. They're from Southern Living Plant Collection. These are the Sterling Moon from the Lunar Lights type. See, they have gorgeous foliage on them. I ordered a whole bunch from last year. They went on sale. I think through Walmart maybe. And I figured some of them I'm going to put in the ground and we'll see how they do. And the rest I'm just going to pop in with, you know, plant arrangements. And hopefully they'll look nice. This is what they look like after going through the winter. So I did not water these very much when I had them inside because, well, that's just the begonias. This is the, you know, see that down there? When you see that kind of begonia-ish going on, that means water in winter, probably just going to rot and die. That tuberous formation down there. Just more prone to rotting. Figured it'd be safer to leave it more on the dry side. They had claimed this one to be hardy to zone 7 online, or no, on the tag. And online, I think it more specifically says 7B. And I thought, well, you know what? We'll give them a try. So I went in and I brought these out though, because they need to get hardened off. And I don't have a heater in the garage right now because the piece of junk Dynaglow, don't buy those heaters, Dynaglow heaters. Nope, they're horrible. They are horrible. Do not buy a Dynaglow heater. I don't have a better alternative to recommend to you, but my experience with my Dynaglow has been that every year I have to get a new one. If you're saying just try a new brand, it's the next like model up, they're into the thousands. So as long as I'll keep replacing it, that's just what I'm going to keep doing, but it seems wasteful. Anyways, usually the heater lasts. I put it in October. This has happened twice now, so this will be, I think, the third time. It usually lasts until spring, and then when I go to turn on in the fall, it's just like, nah, not going to work. Or really what happens is the heating element stays on, but the fan turns off, and it looks like the whole thing's off, but you smell burning, and you get up there and go, oh, this is piping hot, even though it's not on. There's no power seemingly running to it, so you have to go down to the basement, turn it off with the breaker, and you shouldn't be turning that on and off all the time. That's just like a safety thing. So that's when I left it off. It's like, you know what, it's more mild, and because of not having the heater on in there, which I usually do have it running in March, the plants, they're starting to harden off. So I'm like, well, I can go ahead and just move things out here. If it's going to be warmer outside than in there, yeah, there's more shifting, but there's also more light, less humidity, just a bunch of variables I've had to play around with in my head. But that's one of the other reasons. The begonia, the chlorophytum, I have a bunch of little guys over here that are on a shelf where the pests were really bad. It's when I brought them out. There's alocasias and calocasias and a banana, things that are going to scorch and move into the sun because they're all variegated. But it's like, I don't care. Go ahead and scorch. You can cut that off. It'll put out new growth. It's going to be happier and healthier growth. So that's the situation there. Same thing with those alocasias over here. They don't look too hot, but they don't need to right now. I just needed them out of there. I just need to bring them out here where they can be in the nature, and nature can get the mealybugs off of them. And it did. There are like no mealybugs left on any of these plants after just being outside for maybe 2 weeks. In one spray. I did one spray with the super soap. Just pretty safe pest control. And otherwise, it's just been nature. They look, well, they don't look great, but they look much better as far as pests are concerned. When that warmth returns and they've adjusted to being outside, which will only be a couple more weeks, they're going to put out so much new growth so quickly, it won't even matter. They're going to look great really soon. I have that foxtail chained to the fence. The bottom of the pot's gotten a little bit round. It just wants to fall over all the time. You can see I've wired it up here. This actually goes over by the hot tub, but I figure we're still likely to have plenty of dips, maybe into the 20s. And that is too cold. If it gets that cold, it's going back in. So I want it near the garage. I've been liking having the palm tree over here. More so when it's standing up straight. And it has me thinking about what's to come. There are going to be some changes this year. We'll talk about that later. For now, look at the yuccas. Recurvifolias. I decided to leave them in these containers. That was just an experiment I did last year. And I think it looks nice. They get some brown on them. Because again, we're not quite where we need to be for them to thrive during the winter. Because you got some bacterial and fungal things going on from the ups and downs in the cold. But a lot of that, just cut that off when the new growth comes up. I did pull them when it got really cold, just out of these big blue pots and pulled them in the garage. They were in the garage for maybe 2 weeks. Here we go. I fixed it. Those 2 puny little sticks. That's going to keep them from blowing over again. Figure it's better than nothing. And I also went ahead and I pulled the wire, so it's further over here, so maybe it won't go as far. I just feel like it can't be good for the wire to be holding that much weight on it so often. It's about every other day I have to come out here and straighten it back up. Dune grass coming up. Look at the dune grass. So blue. So pretty. I love it. Glad that I remembered to get in here and cut back the old stuff in time. There have been years where I just totally forgotten. It looks so bad. It looks so bad to not get that cut back. Any action from the bamboo? Nothing. This is a, what is it? The Vivex. Aureosticalis, I believe. What is this? This is for, what did I have planted over here? It's not for the bamboo. Oh, I forgot. I had a new ground cover I tried over here called Snow on the Mountain. One that everybody said was going to be pretty aggressive, but it did not do much. Watch out and see if that comes back. Lost a couple arbs. That happens because they suck. You know, those emerald greens, they're just no good. They're getting old too. The yews, look at them. I know it's not that impressive, but these have been in the ground for, obviously this is their 3rd year. They probably doubled in size, and they should really start to put on some more height now. Once these have doubled this size, so maybe 3 more years, then the laurel hedge might be going. Because you can see it's just doing so well over here. Why would I ever want to get rid of it? It's so pretty. Yeah, really nice, wonderful plants. Okay, here's the deal. I love laurels. These are skip laurels. I think they're great. This just is not a good spot for them. It's really not. They get plenty of shade. They get morning sun, afternoon shade, but it's just too exposed. And I have to amend for pH over here. I think it's just not quite acidic enough for them. The ones I had prior to this, though, I had a hedge that got killed by like -15 a few years ago. That hedge of laurels did wonderfully up until we had the -15. Yeah, that did them in. This one, though, I mean, these were field grown. They were burlapped, and they just haven't thrived. But maybe just give it a few more years and keep pruning on all the deads of just every year there's more and more dead in them. Oh. It's just disappointing. It's usually in the spring, I'm like, oh, look at the laurels, they're so pretty. But ever since I planted these, that really hasn't been the case. That was the old hedge. The new hedge, not so much. But, you know, I'll cut away at them. They'll flush back out. A few more years, they'll be used big enough back there to just go ahead and remove these. Because they become a pain in the butt. I'm just not crazy. I think maybe it's that I have some resentment. It was ridiculous. They didn't do anything wrong. That was me who decided to plant them there. But, yeah. They're doing fine. Paniculatas, these are the vanilla strawberries. Starting to see some growth out of some of them. Not as much as I would like to, though. I need to do some pruning on them. I haven't done my spring cut back on those, so I need to take about 1/3 off the tops of these. And need to do it right about now. See that? Right when they're budding out, or really probably right before they've gotten to this point, when you want to cut those back. Oh, there's some spring action going on in here. This is the first year for this one in the ground. This is a viburnum. I believe it's called Chicago Luster. And I'm very excited about that. It's a deciduous viburnum. It has really, really beautiful glossy green foliage. I was just envisioning that shiny green foliage with that bright yellow of the bamboo behind it. That's gonna look really pretty. Bamboo will start putting up growth here in probably about 2 or 3 weeks. That's when they usually do. I have the rufas over here. These are a clumping bamboo that got planted up last year. So this is their first winter. Looking pretty good. I say there because there are multiples. Not all of them are looking so hot. Like this one. This one's not as happy. It'll come up. It'll be fine. And then that one over there also. That's not looking as happy. But again, it'll flush back out. It'll be good. Hostas. Look at the hostas. That makes me so happy. I love when you get to see the hostas pop up out of the ground. So pretty. Just a nice form to them. I have a... Let's see if I can get in here. No, there's really nothing to look at with this. It's an aspidistra called Snow-Capped, and I didn't protect it this year. It's its second year in the ground. I was like, you know what? We're going to see if it's hardy. Can't protect it. And this is what it looks like. And this is not unusual for an aspidistra here. They're not typically sold as a perennial up here in St. Louis, but usually they'll overwinter and just die back and you get new growth out of them. Or usually around late spring, so they'll start to put up some new growth when things start to get nice and warm. This berm was looking beautiful a few weeks ago, just full of daffodils in color. And, well, they're done now. They're the tete-a-tetes. They tend to bloom earlier than the others. I have some, one of the little bluebell guys in here. Not bluebells. I can't remember. This is going to drive me crazy. Whatever they are, they're scattered all over the place. And I have other daffodils that will be coming up. Oh, well, here's one right here. This one's called Watch Out. Big white flowers. And then down over here... have some others. I think I have like precocious maybe planted down here. They're not doing anything yet. And then up in here, it looks like only one of them is bloomed. And it's looking at the ground right now. Not much to see with that. The daffodils are doing a really good job naturalizing. When I planted these up several years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I really just tried to spread about 3 or 4 varieties all over the place in the garden beds from just like down there all the way through here and then over into there. And this is the first year where they've come up and I'm like, oh, this is looking how I wanted. I wanted them to naturalize and this looks wild. I like that wild color in the springtime, or the spottiness of the colors in the springtime. Everything's spread out. Looks nice. It's nice and airy and just woodland. I enjoy the woodland vibe. Haven't seen anything out of the Japanese orange yet. The Poncirus, this was its first winter in the ground. I have grown them. They're perfectly hardy here, but I'm just wondering if maybe this got into the ground too late. That doesn't really make sense, but maybe the color of the wood on it just isn't what it should be. It should be a nice deep shiny green, and it's a dry green, but I did a scratch test and there's green on the inside, so I'm just trying to keep it watered and just gotta hope, really hope that it's gonna push out some new growth. I might go ahead and, if I see any swelling on it, the second I see the swelling, hit it with some fertilizer. I say swelling, I mean like the buds swelling up on the branches. You see some movement in the plant and start fertilizing, just like, come on, grow. All right, let's check out what's going on in the greenhouse. I forgot I also moved the pack of stackies in. It would not have enjoyed that cold. Yeah, look, there's so much room because I moved so many things out. These are back in a couple days. I'll maybe even today, actually. I might move those back out. I'm gonna watch the forecast a little bit more closely before I make that decision. It's like I'm saying a little bit, a lot. Sometimes that happens when you film videos, you start catching yourself saying the same thing over and over and over again, then it gets stuck in your head, and then you say it more, even though you're trying to say it less. So I wish I hadn't noticed that. It's okay. Nothing wrong with finding things to improve upon. The Chinese fan palms, they are loving life in here. There's been some browning on them, but my goal with these, with putting this big greenhouse over the tops of them, was just to get them through the winter, hoping that maybe each one would have 2 fronds on them. And they've been pushing out new growth slowly, but been pushing out new growth all winter. So I'd say that that is a win. I really didn't have issues with anything in this greenhouse. In fact, everything in this greenhouse did better than things in the grow space, which makes sense. It's a smaller area. It's easier to keep the humidity up in here, and natural light, but not quite enough natural light. I had this greenhouse pushed back against the wall, and there are, you can't see right here, there are giant pine trees right behind it that shade things. So it's mostly morning sun in here. And once we start to transition into this time of year and there's a little bit more sun, you just, oh, I did it again. There's some more sun every single day. Things have just started to bloom and be happy. This is an awesome Pretty Limits oleander back here. And this is the heaviest set of flowers I have ever gotten out of this plant. I want to say I've had it for about 4 years now. Something like that. When I got it, it was just a twig. Yeah, it was just a tiny little twig from Proven Winners, and it's done its thing. But I hadn't seen the flowers yet. I mean, they've put out sporadic flowers, but nothing like this. Hopefully, I'll give it a good prune when it's done flowering, because it needs some more growth. It needs to get bushier. But hopefully, it'll be doing that this summer, because, you know, when it's supposed to. But we will see. Look at just how marvelous the flowers are on these. They're really big flowers on there. The orchids that are in here, the Vandacious orchids, which I was really rolling the dice keeping these in here. But I thought, you know what? We've got the humidity out here. Let's give it a try. And they have all been so happy. All 3 of them. See that? We got buds. It's ready to open, but just hasn't done yet. I have 2 flower spikes on this one. This one has 1. And I don't think there's anything coming out of the other one. But hey, 2 out of 3 isn't bad. So I really didn't think they would do that well in here. But everything has pretty much thrived, unless it was something that needed a lot of light and I couldn't quite get it that much light. I could have probably moved out the windmill palms and the sable palms and the yuccas by now, but they had just gotten used to the heat. So I figured we'll just leave them in here. I'm going to hit a point in the next few weeks where it is going to drive me insane having this greenhouse set up, because, you know, I would like to get the patio just looking beautiful, but then there's this big giant plastic greenhouse in the background. But really, I mean, I think it's April 1st, the day that this video comes out, so what? 3 to 4 more weeks max, and this could come down. But that's going to be a very long 3 to 4 weeks for me, because I would like to take it down now. I'm at a point where I really want to take this greenhouse down. I want to scoot the furniture, and I want to blow off the patio and power wash it. And that's just stuff I usually do in March. But I have all the patio furniture weighing this thing down so it doesn't blow away. And that worked. This thing did not move this year, shockingly, because we have extremely windy winters, but it has held still. But you can see I have all the chairs and even the table, like the pots and things. Well, I want to do something with these pots. In fact, do we talk about this now? Sure. Okay. These big pots. I say potsa because there's another one just like it, just around on the other side. Really big planters. One goes here, one goes over there. You can see I have 2 of them down there. I need to pull them in closer to the steps, but I haven't pruned those hydrangeas up yet. They're just going to stay there for now. Easier to prune them up when you can walk around and less stuff to fall in the pool. I have always just put palms in these pots, and I still have the palms. You'll see them when we go into the grow space, the Gossia palms that go in them. The Gossia palms just haven't thrived in these pots. I think it's just too much sun right here for them. The Gossias don't want as much light as they get in this location. I mean, I can keep doing it. It'll be fine. It's just they're a palm. They have a really fine penne on them. They scorch easily and they grow painfully slow. So you move them out, they bleach, and then you got to wait a few months for them to look good again, and then a month later it's time to move them back in. I'm not crazy about that. They're really cool looking palms. Like, you'll see them when we get inside. I have been thinking about maybe doing 2 more hydrangea trees. I have these 2 down here. They have done phenomenal. I said phenomenal. I'm going to say phenomenal, not phenomenal. I need to drink my Topo Chico and just sit down for a moment. They've done really well. That's the whole point there. Those hydrangea trees are the strawberry vanillas. Paniculata hydrangeas just do well in containers during the winter time. That's going to vary depending on where you live. But here, they do well. And I have 2 vanilla strawberry hydrangeas standards, just like these, scrawnier, but like those in my front yard. And they're not doing great because the trees in my front yard have gotten much bigger and they're not getting as much light as they need to really look nice. And I'm sure y'all have noticed, you go to a nursery, hydrangea trees and everything else, they have skyrocketed in price. Yeah, those, you can barely see them. The sticks. Those strawberry vanilla hydrangea trees I got for like $60 a pop, which is a steal from Lowe's. This is many years ago. And now I can't find them in this size. These are like the higher of the sizes you can get with the standardized hydrangea trees for like $300. It's as cheap as I've seen them. I'm not going to spend $600 on a couple more of those when I have 2 in my front yard that really could use a relocating. It wouldn't be the fun tropical vibe like we always have out here. And I know everybody enjoys that, but it just makes sense, doesn't it? I'm putting it out there. Let me know what you think about that. I think it just makes sense. And these hydrangea trees are so beautiful when they start to bloom. That would be really nice to have that on this end of the patio. But there is a drawback, or a toss-up, I guess you could say. While the panicle hydrangeas do like sun, when you have patio pavement right underneath them and then you have water and reflection, sometimes those beautiful big white panicle flower heads, they scorch. And there's more light over here than there is down there. And those scorch, sometimes they turn to start looking like burnt marshmallows, just depending on how hot the summer is. Not always, sometimes they just come through looking beautiful. So I don't know, it might be too much sun right here, at least right here. That side, I know it seems crazy, but it's because I'm on a hill. I'm at the bottom of a hill. So the houses and the trees, they're up really high and they shade everything in the afternoon. So this half right here, from here and over, gets more shade than this half and over on this end of the pool. The under the pool, it's kind of the opposite. This yard's weird. Next option would be to not do the Gossia palms or the hydrangeas, and instead of doing palms in those pots this year, maybe doing banana trees. Maybe a couple of nice big red end sets. Downside to that is I've never done banana trees in these 2 pots, only because this spot is very windy. And I just feel like the leaves will always look tattered. But, well, maybe not so much once we move on towards midsummer, or even just past like early July. Mid-July and on, the storms aren't usually as bad, and then probably wouldn't be too much of an issue. I don't know. Just putting that out there. Bananas, palms, hydrangeas, whatever we end up doing over here, it'll look beautiful. The advantage of doing the hydrangeas or the palms is I don't have to pay for them. I already have the palms, I already have the hydrangeas. I just figured out soon though, because I'm going to dig up the hydrangeas. This is really the time to do it, right when they're starting to push out, start to bud out their new leaves. That's really a good time to go ahead and dig them up and transplant them. So I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. We will see. I'm going to have to get that figured out here sooner or later. I think it'd be beautiful to have hydrangea trees down here, but I also I've always had the big tropical plants over here, and I think that would be really nice too, to just keep doing the tropical thing. It's nice. I mean, I know it's a big jumbled up mess, the tropical plants, and then we've got crab apples and cherries, and up until a few days ago, there was like coconut palms and cordyceps all over the place out here, but I moved them from the cold. That's just the way it is. In a few weeks, it's going to be too warm out here for a lot of these plants, the pansies and things, and then all the tropicals will be out here. Just transition things out. Just like decorating for the holidays. It's the same thing, except it's decorating for the season with plants. I don't think of plants as decorations. I very much appreciate them. Not that people don't appreciate the decorations. There are people who get upset when you refer to landscaping or anything as decoration. That's not what I meant. I love nature. We've got lots of natives and things over on the... Oh, let's go talk about the hill. The hill. This area. Used to call it my dump garden, because this is where I would put things that didn't fit into any other spot into the landscape. So I'd bring them over here and I would just dump them. Like right here I have some annuals. Well, not annuals. They were annuals, and then I put new plants in them. I'm trying to see if they're going to come back for me this year. Yeah, so it's a lot of natives. And then there's, like an apple espalier, because why not? Always chasing the sun out here. And over here, there's enough sun for things that I can't grow over yonder. So there's hydrangeas, serviceberry, magnolia, lots and lots and lots of milkweed in here, different types of Asclepias. Berry white hydrangea right here, another one down there. Those are ones I got on clearance a few years ago from Home Depot. And I just got them potted up this year. It's this female cardinal. You see her? Such a pretty bird. Bet you don't mind the ADD train when it focuses in on really pretty birds. Coral berries, just, you know, things that are out here because I think they're pretty and for the nature. Things that produce the fruits. The cardinals, they sound so pretty. I love the... You hear it? Such a pretty song they sing. Well, last year I planted something that's not native in this spot, mostly because I needed to fill in the spot for some privacy. And I was really concerned that it was dead, but I'm seeing it flush out with new growth, and it makes me so happy. This is a big step here. Okay, all right. Yeah, so this is a bloodgood Japanese maple, and this got planted, and then we had a horrible drought last year. Much of the country had an absolutely horrible drought last year, and I did my best. I had lots of mulch down there trying to keep the roots nice and cool. That helps a lot with Japanese maples. You can have sun up top and nice cool roots. They usually appreciate that, depending on the type, if it's one that wants sun. And it was not looking good by the end of summer. It looks like there's probably some stuff in here I'll have to cut out, but not too much considering it went into its first winter in the ground. Not very happy because of that drought. And then a very just erratic winter. The temperatures were shooting all over the place. But yeah, I was thinking, I was like, I'm 50-50 on this tree maybe dying because that drought, it just went on and on. I kept it watered. There's drip out here, but there's just only so much you can do. This is also an area where the ground drains extremely quickly. This whole area up here is actually drainage. At least for about 2 feet back behind that wall, it is gravel all the way down, because all these yards that you see around me all drain into my yard. So it all goes down into here through a drain that goes down to a storm sewer. So there's that too, that I had to contest with, like making sure, like, okay, I gotta make sure this thing's got plenty of water, even with that really sharp drainage. Yeah, here we are. Made it through that really rough summer and a very odd winter. Even though the winter was mild for the most part, still when you're going above freezing and below freezing, up and down, wood contracts and opens and contracts and opens and contracts and opens. And some plants like crepe myrtles, that's why crepe myrtles don't tend to hold their wood here unless you have them, well, the further into the city, you have that island effect, they do better. And maybe you have them against a wall, something that helps protect them from wind. But otherwise, it's that freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing. It's not so much the cold, but it's that process that ends up killing the wood back, and then your plants have to come back from the ground every year. I wouldn't want that with the Japanese maple. So I'm just very happy to see that. Now, the only other thing that I guess we could talk about back here is palm tree placement. Though it is premature. This isn't something that needs to be discussed quite yet, but I'm thinking about it. There's not a lot to talk about though. Like how I'm debating with myself whether to talk about the thing that we're going to end up talking about anyways. So every year I have a huge Alexander palm that goes in the ground over here on this side of that path right there. I also have a very large, well, I have several, but I have a particularly large queen palm that for the last few years has gone over here. And I'm thinking this year, changing things up and putting it right here in that garden bed. So we'll have a queen palm, Alexander palm. There's just logistic reasons why it makes the most sense to do it that way. Logical reasons, is what I meant to say. So over here, that queen palm, usually it's right here, right next to that lamp. It stands up and it's really pretty, but the canopy really blends into the pine trees. So oftentimes I'll do garden tours during the summer and sometimes forget to even talk about the palm tree, just focus on the plants that are potted in the pot that it's in. And figure out the huge palm tree that's up above everything, because it just blends in a lot. Also, this area over here, it's very difficult to dig a hole deep enough for the pot. You have to sink the container or else it will get blown over, and it takes a team of people to stand those things back up. These are very, very, very heavy plants. They have to use a crane to bring it in. So I was thinking over here, this would be a good spot. I swapped out my Baju bananas last year with Unhinensis and Bulbiciana. I don't know if they will survive the winter. This is gonna be the first winter. We will see. I'm not seeing anything coming up yet. There will be Bajus that come back. They come back kind of like cannas. They just sort of spread like wildfire. So no matter what, there'll be bananas over here. Probably. If not, we'll plant new ones. But those bananas used to come all the way over here. And I didn't like that. I wanted the bananas over here. I originally planted them over here, and then they crawled over here. And then I tried to cut them back over here, and then they came over. It's just been a thing. That's why like the Baju bananas, they just needed a break from them. So I have this opportunity right here to just dig a huge hole right here to sink that palm tree into. And I think that that's going to look really nice. Scoot this out of the way. Pull that over here and kind of see a little bit better. So you're centered in that path. You can already see the hole right there from where the Alexander palm goes. It's in a 36-inch pot. And so is that queen palm. So it's going to have to be a very, very, very big hole. There'll be a part of me where I'm kind of bothered. It's two different palms flanking each side, but then also it's the, just shut up and get over it, right? I mean, my gosh, childhood me would have been just insanely happy to have had a palm tree that's, not a majesty palm, and here I am with multiples that are 20-something feet tall. I'm not going to complain about where they go. There's also more light right here, so that's another thing. The other queen palm looks pretty when you're walking down the path when you get here, and and you can see it towering above the umbrellas. It is a nice look. But once you're over there, you can't even really see it. I do enjoy the view of that palm tree too from all the windows upstairs, but it's okay. There are lots of other palm trees that'll be coming, and I can put another one over there that's just a little bit smaller. Maybe that might be where the windmill. We'll talk about that when the palm trees get here in May. All that being said, you're going to be noticing a hole that's slowly getting larger and larger and larger here over the month of April and into May. Because it's one of those things I'm like, I'm just going to tackle that slowly and just slowly work on that hole because there are all kinds of pipes and things underneath there. I have to do it fairly slowly. That's more just a heads up that it's going to be pretty messy and weird looking over here. Yeah, so not a lot has come up yet, but we're getting there, and some things that have come up are things I would not expect to be coming up. Oh, ostrich ferns. One of my favorite things about spring. I love the ostrich ferns. I would like to get those going in. At one time, I had them just everywhere over here, and then I went through and I cleaned a bunch of them out. I don't remember why. I think it's because whatever was planted right here had died. I like how the growth of this shifted this way so it's not centered with that window. The root ball centered with the window. The tree just decided to go that way. Interesting. Wow. Yeah. I haven't touched the ostrich ferns the last few years, so I'm trying to let them reestablish themselves. Should I get rid of the heptacodium? Yes, I know I was just talking in the beginning about how much I love the tree. I do love the tree, but I forgot to mention about how it's become a problem. Shade-wise, it's become a problem. My gingers are growing like this when they come up out of the ground. I don't know. Something I wouldn't get rid of. I'd cut it back and go plop it somewhere else and just, I guess, not plant something here. Because anything I put in the spot's going to do the same thing. All right, yeah, that was fun. We can go inside now. Oh, the windmill palm. It's good. Love and life. This also only spent about 2 weeks inside this year, which is probably a record. Usually the windmill palm, I keep them potted. You can grow them in the ground around here, but it is really risky. You have to do a lot to protect them during the winter time, just because we usually have that like 2 or 3 weeks where it's really, really cold, and otherwise they're fine. But I don't want to do that. They grow so slow, and everything costs a fortune these days. So I just keep it in a pot, which slows the growth down even more, but it means I can take it inside when it gets really cold. It looks good. It looks nice. Okay, let's go in the grow space and see what the houseplants are doing. What you doing, Floof? Kitten. Oh, look at you, hanging out next to the pretty rainbows. I got distracted by the rainbows. What were we talking about? Oh, we're going to do indoor plants. I don't have my mic on, so we'll do this part without the microphone. See the fish tank. Ooh, water spots. Oh, these guys. Let's go look at these. There it is. There's your update. That's what's going on with the plants up here. It's a Bilete philodendron. I've talked about this, and I just forget to talk about it in a lot of the garden tours. You see the fish? He's enjoying the fish. Got this as a fairly little guy, just over a year ago, and then put it in the fish tank. It's doing great. When I had talked about this before, it was in reference to this grow light, which I decided I don't like. But some of you commented and said that you've been using this one. Turbo's scratching. Just a moment. You done? All done scratching? Okay. Glorium. Is that how you say it? Glow. Right there. It's written right there. Glorium. I had mentioned how I'm just really not all that impressed with this light, because this plant has wanted to grow to these grow lights to the reflection from these very, very inexpensive. Like, this is some kind of no-name. This is a Haiger LED light that goes through the fish tank. The leaves keep going underneath the lights and trying to grow in there. So what does that say about this light? I don't know. I don't think it bodes well for it. I went ahead and I raised it up higher, thinking, okay, well, maybe that will help. I'm going to up how long I keep it on to. Maybe that will help it. It wants to grow this way, towards the sun and towards the tank. It's one thing to do with this light. But here we are a year later, and I'm still using it. I don't know. It's fine. It's a philodendron. It's not too picky about it. It's dusty so fast. Okay, hi. Yes, I know. I'm standing near the tank. That must mean it's time for food. It's not time for food. Big goldfish. Just a quick update, since it's not plant related. I had goldfish in here. A huge shabunkin. That's fantail. Not proper husbandry, but they were eating the duckweed. Took the big one out because there's still a little bit of duckweed left with the little guy. I think we're about ready to take the little one out too. Get back to just having the tropicals in here. This is where I keep a lot of my succulents during the winter. This bathroom, it's the Dracaena doesn't like it. The cactus, they love it. North facing window, it's very cool in here. I do not water them often. They just hang. The Dracaena, not so much. This is not where it wants to be. Been here for 3 years. But these guys, they love it. Cool and dry. Just, let them chill out until it's time to move outside, which will be soon, really, a few weeks. Okay, now I'm going to get mic'd up and go out to the grow space. Let me grab a rag and clean these off. I feel like I just did it, but I could use some more. Hey, Cosmo. You feeling a little feisty, huh? I'd like to take you out there, but I don't think you'd have a very good time. I'm so sorry, pretty bird. Too many fans, too much noise. We'll have some outside time in a little while. It's not quite warm enough yet for him to go outside. He's going to be very happy if he can get back outside and have some natural light. So not a lot's going on in here. As I mentioned, the heater, the piece of garbage that it's just horrible. Not working. So things are different than usual. Typically I'm watering at least once a week and propagating things, but without the heat, just kind of watching time pass and watering, I don't know, about every maybe 2 weeks. And I go, if something needs water, I just water it. So there have been some things on the shelf that I have to water more frequently. I just use a watering can with those, but everything else, if it's not warm, they're just chilling. Yeah, prune that off of there. My clippers are inside. Took my clippers apart, cleaned them and sharpened them the other day, so I remember to bring those out. This shelf right here, this is a lot of those plants that were outside were out because it was just too much. Everything was growing so well that other things were getting smothered. My poor skinned apsis were just getting smothered. So I need to get that cleaned up. I wanted to make sure it was nice and hydrated first, so I can get in there and clean that up. Orchids are doing their thing. Some things that we'll talk about another time up top. And the aeroids being simple. That's why I love it, the aeroids. Nice and simple. Begonias chilling. Yeah, everything's just chilling. Look how long this growth has gotten on this cactus. I need to pot this Schlumbergera up into a potting mix that doesn't dry as quickly. It's just dry soon. I watered this 3 days ago and it's bone dry. It's drying way, way, way too quickly. This one I put in a standard potting mix. Didn't even care if it was a cactus mix. And look, looks great. And this one over here, just not loving life in that mix. It has new growth and stuff coming up. It just always looks so shriveled and sad. Because it is. It is shriveled and sad because use a better potting mix. This can go. This doesn't need to be here. That was funny for a moment, but ultimately I do not want that there. Yeah, over here, basils are growing. Amazel basil, strong grower, orchids, flowering. These have been in flower pretty much since, November? Well, they started spiking in November, probably opened up early January. Yeah, everything seems happy. Gingers and staghorns, alocasia, dragon bone, golden dragon, popped out of my brain as soon as I'm going to talk about it. I can never remember. It's a lutea crossed with a portora, so you get the really pretty yellow veining that you get from a lutea and the cool scalloped edges that you have on a portora. Brought this in as an experiment this year in one of these pots that has all the holes in it, the aerated pots, and it's done well. Hasn't grown a ton, but I haven't had to do much with it either. It just, it's just hanging out. Pretty much just the case for everything. Everything's just hanging out right now, waiting to go outside. Orchids are maybe getting too much, not maybe, they're getting too much light. Right, those are purple. These are brassavolas too. They can usually take a good amount of light. That one back there is closer to the lights and it's not purple. Maybe they just need to acclimate, which would make some sense. I've had that one for a longer period of time. These I picked up from the orchid show, and I think they're from Equigener. They're bare rooted, so they need to adjust. Nice growth over here on the Anthurium, silver blush, I believe. Some water stains need to be cleaned off. Agaves, mungaves down the bottom, and then other things are just props. Stuff I'm trying to get going. Silver lady fern, doing wonderful. It had a bit of a decline a few months ago, and it was the day after I filmed a garden tour. I was like, look at how great it's doing. And then I came outside, it was just, bleh, it was all wilted down. Hopefully it won't do the same thing tomorrow, but it has rebounded. I can come in here and get this stuff cleaned out. I'll wait, use my clippers. I bring my clippers out here. Clear out the brown, but you can see they're starting to get some trunks on them. Not a lot, but a little bit. Self-watering pot, game changer. Grow these in a self-watering container. Like the Pacific Northwest, you may not need to do that, but where I live, It just made them so much easier. The mule palm over here, now this could be outside. I'm gonna try and step up here. Okay, there we go. The mule palm could be outside. They can take the cold. But this one, it had some spear rot. I treated it with the fungicide, and this is its new growth it has in here. The center of this plant is weak. So I'm keeping it well watered, gets fertilizer every time I water it, and I don't want to have to move it back and forth. I want it to get moved once, and that's it. I need to push this out and push out some more growth. Then all this old stuff will come off of it, and I'll probably have to pull this crown open. You have to do that sometimes. When you've had crown rot, spear rot, you have spear pull in a palm, sometimes you have to pull this stuff down, and you got to pry it open. Hopefully it won't come to that, but the way it's leafing out, I think it will. But that's okay. My main thing is that it's still alive. The Thai constellation, it got too close to the lights over here. I had to rotate it. Got burnt. It's getting so tall. Look, there's only like, what? I don't know, 3 more feet to go. That's very tall. 14-foot ceilings. This guy's pushing 10 feet high. I have to climb up on top of scaffolding so you can see it. It's a big boy. This is Sweet Autumn Clematis. It is an invasive. I pull it everywhere outdoors, and a piece of it came inside. On this guy, I'll pull that. The rest of it will die off. The brugmansias and things around the corner, they're just, again, chilling, basically dormant for the wintertime. Veitchias. I love these. I love these palms. They have been so easy. So this will be my 3rd winter with them inside. I bought them thinking, you know what, let's get some other types of palms that are similar to things like the Adenidias and the foxtails and grow them in the grow space. So I can report back, like, how do these compare? They seem much more sturdy than the Adenidias. Adenidias always have pest problems when I grow them in here. Foxtails always have some kind of mealybug or something on them. They can be susceptible to brown tips and everything. These are right underneath a fan. There's only a little bit of browning on them. Yeah, they're maybe not growing as quickly, but I think that will change this year when I pop them up into a larger container. They're in the same containers they were in when they were bare rooted to me like a year or so ago. At least one of them is. Bare rooted. Lost my mouth there while I was talking. The coconuts, they're still doing their thing. They were my main concern when the heater stopped functioning properly. I was thinking, uh-oh, the coconuts like it warm, but just had to dial back the watering and just let them hang out and do their thing. And it seems to be okay. In fact, this guy opened up a new frond right here that probably has spider mites on it. It usually does, but I've been spraying, so maybe that's doing something. Nah, there's a whole bunch in there. Always something. These guys, I get them outside, no more problems. But usually by this time of year, it's just a constant game of spraying. Can I help you? What's the problem? He wants to go outside and go swim. He's going to have to wait. All right, so good to know. I need to spray this guy. I'm going to do that before I go inside. And yeah, everything else, it's the same thing. It's just chilling. The Eureka palm, just waiting to go outside. Dracaena, Arborea, yeah, it's good. And these are the Gassias that I talked about earlier, the ones that roam on each side of the steps of the pool, and that I was like, you know, they've been doing great. I can say that as far as palms to grow inside, easy. Fantastic, but they grow like snails. And this very thin foliage, it just scorches so fast in the sun. Acclimating them to full sun takes a long time. Like, they wouldn't be acclimated to full sun until probably mid to late July, and at that point, what are we doing? I want those things planted up early to mid-May. So I typically, you know, I just put them out there, and the foliage scorches, comes off, and they push up new foliage. It just takes a long time. I'm not really into that. But they're really cool looking palms. These trunks are just awesome. So maybe they will go back in those pots. I will miss having them in those containers probably, and they're starting to put on some size. So these have put on a good probably, you know, from probably here to here of clear trunk, somewhere around there. So, you know, a little over a foot in a couple of years. That's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, see, now I'm looking at them and going, well, I don't think I want to put the hydrangea trees there because I really do like them. But the foliage is going to look like crap once they get outside. Is what it is. Croton's fine. It's just, you know, over here being a great big giant croton. You really want to go out there, huh? Yeah. Well, that's the gist of everything in the grow space. There's a lot of holes because I have moved a lot of stuff out. And, you know, just waiting. Clock's ticking. Just waiting for it to be nice again. Okay. All right. There we go. Oh, hey, I mean, there it is. It's just Not a ton to look at yet, but there's plenty to talk about. I'm loving the spring seating area. I think everything's just looking beautiful and magical. Yeah, hey, I hope everybody's doing well. Things are going well in your gardens. What is going on in your gardens? Do you live someplace where you can have your house plants out? Have you moved your tropicals out, or are you just still like me where you're just waiting? It's just a waiting game at this point. This is fun though. You know, we spend all winter thinking about things to do for summertime, and now we're approaching that point and finalizing decisions, and I've kind of rolled back. You know, fall and winter, I was like, oh, I could do this, I could do this. Then around mid to late winter, I was just like, meh, we'll just wait and see what happens this year. Apparently that's going to be the theme of this year, is I'm just going with the flow. I'm going to see what they have at the nurseries and not planning much out other than where that palm tree is going to go, and then trying to work with the garden with things that need to be done and just handle those things. I'm still hopeful that this crabapple will bloom at the same time these other guys have flowers on them. I don't know what's going to happen. I think it might bloom later. Are you guys growing the Sugartina and the Royal Ranger? Do you have them together? Can you tell me? Do yours bloom later? I feel like they usually bloom about the same time around here, but I'm not positive that the little cute white ones I'm saying are the same one. I think they are, but I'm not sure. So many different types of crab apples and cherries. Cherries will be done blooming in a week, so I doubt they'll be in bloom at the same time, but hey, that's all right. We have a succession. That's even better. Gosh, I love that willow, that golden curls willow. It's so freaking pretty. I will be talking about that more in next week's video. It was on sale. I wanted one really bad last year. I didn't get them. They were like 50 bucks. It was on sale, so then I got one. Don't worry, not going in the ground. That will stay potted. It's going to be ridiculous in a pot, but these are all going to be ridiculous in a pot someday. Yeah, you know, hey, just having fun with trees and containers. All right, hey, hope everybody's doing well, having a great day, great life, and everything's going absolutely beautifully for you. And of course, as always, and most importantly, everybody, that was one heck of a zoom. Keep on growing. Bye.